Part 5. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 41. Two killers left China the day before yesterday. After a long silence, the young man wearing glasses actually analyzed, this person is probably not a professional killer. We may even pull him into our organization. The bearded man was shocked at the time and originally wanted to say it was impossible. How could a person with such methods not be a professional killer? But if you think about it carefully, many of the other parties' behaviors are very suspicious and even inconsistent with the killer's style. Of course, he was vigilant enough, even to the point of being a little too vigilant. But none of this can hide the immaturity in some actions and details. If he is not a professional killer, it is possible. Therefore, the young man wearing glasses proposed the idea of drawing the other person into the organization, and you can even form a team with him in the future to become the most powerful team in the organization. The beard is a little excited. If he has such a strong companion, it will be even more powerful. Soon, a line of reply appeared on Jia Yan's laptop screen. Nice to see you again. What information do you need? We will do our best to help you. When he saw the other party, he didn't delay for too long before replying to the message. Jia Yan felt excited. If they are no longer online, then Jia Yan's search will have to take a big detour, and maybe he really won't be able to find it. Holding half of the eraser and hitting the keyboard. You should know about the northeastern wild tiger of China. I want to find his pharmaceutical factory. If possible, I hope to get your help. I owe you a favor. Manchurian wild tiger. The two killers in front of the mobile phone screen looked at each other. Originally, they also guessed that the other person was not an addict at all. Because after the other party claimed to be an addict on the first day to attract their attention, he no longer pretended to be an addict. They had already guessed that the other person was not a drug addict, but neither of them mentioned it. It's better now. The other party directly asked about the whereabouts of the Siberian wild tiger. Aren't drug addicts following the Siberian wild tiger? If you just slap yourself in the face without blushing, do you still have any moral integrity? They didn't know that Jia Yan was very tired from typing and would not explain if he could. The two of them deliberated for a while in Hawaii, and then the young man wearing glasses nodded solemnly and said, "Let's help him check in the organization. If we want to become a partner with him, how can we not even pay this price?" Okay, bearded man switched the phone screen to the desktop, and then pressed a phone number. Hey, Vivian. Check some news for me. Oh, okay, haha, next time you go back, you must accept my invitation to have dinner, okay? Hey, don't hang up the phone. The bearded man took off his phone and muttered silently, I refuse every time, and this time I hung up on you. Vivian, just wait. The young man wearing glasses chuckled. After a while, Jia Yan received a reply. Our organization's intelligence system mainly focuses on news from other countries, so we don't know much about the Northeast wild tigers, the leader of China's emerging forces. We only know roughly that his so-called factory is deep in the very secretive Qinbei Mountains. I can send you a rough map of the area. If the information from our organization is correct, the Siberian wild tiger factory is within this range. Before Jia Yan could reply, a quickly hand-drawn map was displayed on QQ. It could be seen that the person who drew this map was very skilled, and he could roughly draw a G province in just a few strokes. On that map, the southeastern corner of Kyrgyzstan province, which is a corner of the area bordering North Korea, was circled several times in black. The Siberian wild tiger factory is on the border. Jia Yan was confused, but still thanked him. Your information helped me a lot, thank you very much. Goodbye. He was about to close QQ, but the other party immediately replied with a message, leaving him speechless. Wait a minute, you're not a senior addict, right? Since we are all friends, please tell us your code name. At least it will be easier to call you in the future. Let's start with my code name, Chinese Beard. You can just call me Huzi. Xiaoao's codename is Child Eagle. What about you? Codename. These people are so versatile. Jia Yan thought for a while and typed 2 words. Chongwen. The combination of the word worm and the word means mosquito, which is easy to understand. Jia Yan didn't want to deal too much with these 2 killers, so he closed QQ without waiting for a reply. And his profile picture that was instantly deleted made the 2 bearded people on the other side of the ocean look at each other with a wry smile. They were halfway through typing and wanted to test it out, but finally said the invitation to join, so they had to delete it one by one. These 2 people may not tell me the truth, but since they want to maintain a relationship with me, this information still has a certain degree of credibility. Well, there's no other information anyway. At most, it's just a waste of time. Jia Yan decided to look around these circles. After closing QQ, he chose to open the web page and search the map to see where those circles were. By the way, search online to see what modes and options are available for transportation there. Fortunately, several points are very close. It seems that they are all in a county near the border called Tumen City. Jia Yan looked at the information on the web page. The more information he checked, the more complete it became. He understood the general information of this border city. The low mountainous area in the northeastern region of Tumen City has dense shrubs and many mountains and forests. The circles circled on the map seem to be in the northeastern region. The northeastern wild tigers opened a so-called factory there, which was very secretive. In addition, it was still a border and the environment was relatively complicated, so it could get rid of some troubles. In terms of strategic vision, it is quite clear. Okay. It just so happens that I have arrived in Ji province. I can take a train directly to Tumen City in a short time. Jia Yan finally finished checking the information. He tried hard to write down a few pieces of information in his mind, but there was no way. He was just a mosquito now. He could neither use a notebook nor a mobile phone to keep a diary. He could only use his own head to completely remember the information in his mind. After doing all this, Jia Yan's compound eyes flashed. I haven't sucked blood for nearly 2 days, and I'm a little hungry. He began to delete all his chat records, web browsing records, QQ login account records and other information. Immediately afterwards, Jia Yan's wings vibrated. The mosquito's body flew up, and its dark luster looked very mysterious under the bright light of the computer monitor. He flew to the room where the 2 owners of the house were sleeping, hugging each other. If I'm to blame, it's because you were too passionate. Not only did you leave the balcony door open, but you even left the bedroom door open in a hurry. Doesn't this invite mosquito bites? Jia Yan thought a little bit evilly. However, he was also sure that after he had inhaled the CHR-379 virus, as long as he sucked in clean water twice and spit it out, which was equivalent to cleaning his own internal organs and mouth parts, the virus would not have any further impact on humans. Yun it's his test subject. When he poisoned Yu Tao before, Jia Yan tried to gargle his mouth with water, but when he bit Yun the next day, he really didn't have any reaction. Therefore, Jia Yan can basically guarantee that he will not spread viruses or other bad things to humans. Of course, there are some unexpected situations. If a bad infection or something really happened, there was nothing Jia Yan could do. I can only say that the person who is bitten is unlucky. He is now a mosquito, he can't live without sucking blood. By sucking the juice of plants, he was sure that he would not be able to keep up with his own energy consumption. Only blood could give him strength. At least it had been kept as clean as possible, and Jia Yan thought it was good enough. Not long after, cursing sounds came from the dormitory, and the lights turned on. The male host put on a pair of trousers, jumped to the balcony, and closed the door tightly. But before that, a huge dark black Anopheles sinensis mosquito with a round belly had flown out of the balcony door and jumped directly into the sky. I'm sorry. Jia Yan smiled in his heart and spread his wings to fly. He returned to the top of the awning. The small bottle of CHR-379 virus solution is still placed in the same place without any mistakes. Jia Yan breathed a sigh of relief. Today's task was completed again. In fact, his decision was not wrong. The northeast wild tiger must be from the northeast, so before asking the two killers, he first came to Ji province, which is part of the northeast province, and took a long train to get here. There happened to be two killers. You should also arrive at a safe place from your escape journey. In this way, when he inquired, he could set off directly after getting the news about the two people. He would not waste time traveling from Shanghai to the northeast, which would save a lot of time. As for whether the information of these two people is accurate and whether they deceived him, we have to go there and see for ourselves. It's better than searching for him in the vast sea of people, right? Jia Yan reviewed his series of thoughts and felt that they were correct. However, it was getting late today, and Jia Yan decided to rest for one night in Yangchun, the provincial capital city, after a long period of work. Set off tomorrow to go to Tumen City, the border county, to find the location of the Siberian wild tiger factory. To be continued. Recommended on the website. The first recommendation, whether it will live or die depends on this week. Please give me some support. Just collect it? Really just want to collect. Thanks. Thanks to one season / another silence, I laughed and cried after watching it, menying Luoluo, Wuyer, and reminiscent of Nanti and book friends for their rewards. Bulletin U has a few words in this difficult moment of coding. With the support of a book friend, I feel like I have strength again, thank you. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 42. The train from Yangchun, the provincial capital, to the border city of Tumen takes a total of 6 hours. I got on the train at noon. When the train arrived at the station, it happened to be night time again. The mosquito that calculated the time flew out of the station. No one discovered it. Jia Yanfei looked at the city in front of him from the air. Compared with urban areas like Yangchun and Shanghai, this county-level city with a population of only 120,000 people seemed much lonely. But big cities have the advantages of big cities, and small cities also have the flavor of small cities. At least Jia Yan has been bustling in Shanghai for so long. When he came to such a small city, he immediately felt a sense of calm in his heart. There were not many people at the station. Jia Yan followed a passenger and got into a taxi together. At night, passengers eager to go home rarely look up at the sky. Jia Yan tries his best to fly in dark places, which greatly reduces the possibility of being discovered. Moreover, Jia Yan always tries to fly at the highest speed in such public places. Even if someone occasionally spots him from the corner of their eyes, the next time they look over, they will only see the back of a giant mosquito. You didn't see the bottle he was holding, so it's nothing strange to see just a bug, right? Master, I'm going to Liangshui town. How much does it cost to charter a car? The young man who had just returned from working in Yangchun asked excitedly after getting in the car. Liangshui town? When Jia Yan heard this name, he felt happy. The circles he was looking for were very close to Liangshui town. Of course, it is not really near Liangshui town, but in the deep mountains and old forests over there, but it is still close after all. It is definitely very lucky to be able to get there directly after getting off the train. It's cheaper for you, 100. No bargaining. Okay, let's go. The young man responded happily. It could be seen that he was very excited to go home. As the taxi started to move, Jia Yan hid under the front seat, feeling very excited. Being able to reach Liangshui town early would be one step closer to his destination. The vehicle drove for a long time, maybe an hour or so. Through a little observation angle, Jia Yan saw that the outside scenery slowly changed from a small city to a rural road, and then to an uninhabited wild road. After shaking for a long time, the taxi finally squeaked. With a sound, it stopped. "Thank you, master, here is 100 yuan, the young man paid the money happily, and then took the luggage down one by one. Huh. Just when he was getting something, he saw a black figure suddenly jump out of the car next to him. The young man followed and looked subconsciously, only to see a bug holding something in his arms, quickly disappearing into the night. Jia Yan quickly disappeared from the young man's eyes. As for whether the young man has seen his unique mosquito, it can actually fly in the sky holding a small bottle, that is not what he is worried about. Anyway, it has flown far away, and it will still chase after him. Jia Yan looked at this small town. This town had a very unique style of a border town. The houses were flat and low. Although it didn't look very prosperous because of the sparse population, it had a different feel. It's a bit like my hometown, but I didn't come here for this kind of thing. It's almost 9 o'clock now, should I take action now? Jia Yan's compound eyes flashed. He was thinking that if he flew towards the circled place now, it would be at least 10 or 20 kilometers away. There are many mountains and forests around, and this wild environment is simply an unimaginably scary place for him as a mosquito. Moreover, the places drawn with circles seemed to be deserted. Even if there were some small villages, Jia Yan didn't know the way for a while. So if you don't want to fly there by yourself, can you just wait in Liangshui town? If the so-called factory of the Northeast wild tigers is a large-scale existence, then it must come out to replenish food and other resources, and then it can be mixed into their vehicles or other means of transportation. There are two options. One option is to rely on your own ability to adventure all the way in the mountains and forests to find the factory. Another option is to wait in this town until the Siberian wild tigers convoy or supply team appears, and then secretly follow them into the factory. The first one is extremely dangerous. Jia Yan has never really been in a wild environment since he was reborn as a pupa and became a mosquito until now. On the contrary, in the suburban environment of the city, I have encountered dangerous animals such as bats and sparrows. It is so dangerous even near the city, but if you want to enter such a wilderness, the danger will definitely be much greater. So what about the alternative? Waiting for the Siberian wild tigers supply team was entirely a matter of luck. He still didn't know the size of the Siberian wild tigers' so-called factory. If it is only a small scale of a dozen people, then replenishing it once will not even require going out for a month or two. It has only been more than a month since Jia Yan was reborn. Wasting so much time waiting is a complete waste of his short life. He was already dead before he could even wait. Besides, although there are not many vehicles and pedestrians on the roads of Liangshui town every day, there are definitely not few. How could he know which car belongs to the Siberian wild tiger? Since that guy has made his factory so hidden, there is no way he can show off outside. Even the killer organization didn't get much information. He was just a mosquito. Even if he waited until the relevant vehicle appeared, he would definitely miss it. After thinking about this for a long time, in Jia Yan's eyes, he finally made a cruel decision. Compared to when I was chased by bats and sparrows, now that I have undergone the mutation of the purple potion, I am definitely much stronger. My exoskeleton is stronger. My flying speed and agility are faster and more flexible. I still have human intelligence and emergency capabilities. So, I can definitely do it. Jia Yan chose to enter the forest and rely on his own strength to find the Northeast wild tiger's factory. Now that we've decided, let's not delay the matter. Jia Yan flew towards the outside of Liangshui town. Outside the sparsely populated Liangshui town, there are no street lights at all. The dark jungle in the silent environment looks like a bloodthirsty monster with its mouth wide open, waiting to devour anyone. Jia Yan flew along the road. But soon he felt that the map he memorized in his mind was a little different from the direction of this road. The reference object he relied on was the moon. In the night sky, people with a little knowledge of astronomy can rely on the moon to determine the direction. There is only one road here, but the circle drawn on the map is in another direction. Could it be that there is no road at all in Northeast Wild Tiger's factory? Jia Yan thought for a while. Maybe the Siberian wild tiger has another secret path. If you fly along the road, it will only be completely different and farther and farther. He looked in the direction of the circle with compound eyes. If he entered here, the deeper he went, the bigger the forest would become. I hope those two killers didn't lie to me, otherwise the risk would have been in vain. Jia Yan sighed deeply. Then fly along the high ground into the forest in that direction. Buzz buzz. Jia Yan buried his head into the leaves of the bush. The surrounding environment is dark. All sounds seemed to have disappeared, and all he could hear was the flapping of his wings. But with the infrared eye's sensory capabilities, everything in this world is so clear. Jia Yan was flying in the dark. His infrared vision ability had not been greatly enhanced by the mutation. He could only roughly know where the temperature was colder and where the temperature was hotter. Pictures that he was not used to appeared in his senses, and Jia Yan tried hard to analyze these pictures. There is also the ability to sense carbon dioxide and the ability to smell the air. Jia Yan felt like he was going to vomit. He rarely deliberately used the senses inherent in these mosquitoes. He just used human habits and tried to use his eyes and other organs to find books. But in this dark environment, he was forced to use senses that he was not used to, and he was almost dizzy from the feeling that he was not used to. Zhizzy. Just when Jia Yan had walked more than 100 meters in the forest, he suddenly heard the sound of objects moving rapidly across the leaves in his ears. At the same time, his heat source sensing ability suddenly sensed an extremely fast flying creature not far away, charging towards him. The creature had a familiar shape. Long pointed ears, big eyes, and a pair of wings as thin as silkworm wings stretched out from the thin body. The wings are covered with tiny blood vessels. Encountering bats again. Danger. Almost at this moment, Jia Yan gave himself a horrifying warning in his heart. He quickly twisted his body, and the purple medicine bottle also let go and fell to the ground. He twisted his wings and controlled himself to make a free fall downwards. Cha-cha! The bat's sharp claws brushed against Jia Yan's tail, and the sharp feeling made Jia Yan's heart tremble. Zhizzy! The bat let out a high-frequency scream, turned around in the air, and chased Jia Yan again. To be continued. Please collect it. This week will determine the life or death of this book. Please support me by collecting it. Thanks. Thank you to I laughed and cried after watching it. Tubo's reward of 100 starting coins. Thank you very much. Thanks to book friend Weavier for another 100 starting coin reward. Thank you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 43. Jia Yan felt like he was enveloped by a huge black shadow. He immediately ignored the CHR-379 virus solution that fell to the ground and turned somersaults in the air. He moves like a diver, doing a beautiful front flip. But as bats are expert predators at night, they are naturally not inferior in their movements. A pair of claws caught Jia Yan's wings with lightning speed, and barely missed Jia Yan's body. Still pursuing you, Jia Yan avoided fatal attacks twice, but saw that the bat was unwilling to let go and still pursued him quickly. Jia Yan saw a tree as thick as a bowl in front of him, and he hit it hard in his eyes. When he was about to get close to the tree trunk, his wings suddenly exerted force, and then a huge airflow came out from the wings. In an instant, Jia Yan avoided the tree trunk and went around it. How could the bat chasing behind him have thought that Jia Yan would do something like this? He chased too fast and ended up hitting a tree trunk. There was a pop sound, and the impact was very crisp. The bat was flapping on the ground, and I guess I won't be afraid for a while. Jia Yan quickly took advantage of this opportunity, flapped his wings, and flew towards the darkness. He was hiding on the back of a leaf. The bat quickly flew back up from the ground. It seemed that the impact with the tree still made it a little dizzy, and its flying posture was a bit strange as it burrowed into the bushes. Just lost sight of it? Fortunately, it didn't want to seek revenge on me. Jia Yan carefully flew out from the back of the leaf, this time even more cautiously. He looked behind him. When he was dodging before, the capsule vial containing the CHR-379 virus solution fell to the ground somewhere. Forget it, I'll roughly remember this place and come back to pick it up next time. Otherwise, if I search on the ground now, not only will bats be in danger, but there will also be predators such as frogs, which will put me in an even more dangerous situation. And although the small capsule-shaped bottle is not big for humans, for Jia Yan's mosquito body, it is about the same size as the body, and carrying it will only hinder him. Come and pick it up next time you need it or when you are leaving. Jia Yan sets out again. This time the journey was another 100 to 200 meters. There was no danger along the way. While it was distinguishing the direction of the full moon in the sky, it was flying towards the circle location estimated in its heart. Passing through the gap between two trees, Jia Yan suddenly felt that his front foot touched something. Suddenly it was stuck. No, it's spider silk. Jia Yan felt anxious and wanted to struggle instinctively. But at this moment, Jia Yan's human wisdom and emergency response capabilities came into play. I can't struggle. The more I struggle, the tighter the stick becomes. Now only my front feet are stuck to the spider web a little bit. If I struggle, my whole body will definitely be stuck to it. The actual situation was no different from Jia Yan's analysis. In the darkness, his huge Anopheles sinensis kept flapping its wings in the air. However, the amplitude of the flapping was not very large, but it was strong enough to keep it suspended in the air. The tip of one of his front feet accidentally stuck to the edge of a spider web, which caused the web to vibrate. However, he was very calm and did not choose to struggle. Instead, he kept his balance and flew in the sky. I'm only stuck to one spider web. With my current strength, it's not impossible to break free. Fly as hard as you can in the opposite direction from where you came from. Jia Yan's wings vibrated, and on the premise of carefully ensuring that other parts of his body were no longer stuck by the cobwebs, his body in the air flew upside down in the direction it came from. Instead of choosing to go up or forward, this will only make the situation worse. A big-bellied garden spider with a round body and a big belly quickly crawled out from the leaves in the corner of the spider web. It seems that it is the owner of this spider web. This big-bellied garden spider is about the same length as Jia Yan, about 1.5 centimeters, but it has a stout body and is estimated to weigh more than 3 to 5 times that of Jia Yan. Spiders can catch prey several times larger than themselves on the spider web. Jia Yan believes that if he is also stuck in the spider web, he will definitely not be able to escape the fate of being used as a midnight snack. Hurry up, he quickly accelerated his flying speed. The spider web clinging to the front foot was suddenly pulled and twisted. It looks like it will break at any time, but Jia Yan does not have any expectations for this. You must know the rigidity and elasticity of the spider web, but human technology has always tried to crack the imitation, but has not been able to succeed. If it is magnified to a certain extent, it will exceed any rope in the human world. Rather than hoping that the spider thread will be torn off by yourself, it is better to hope that the part sticking to the front foot is not strong enough, and it will be torn apart if you apply more force. The big-bellied garden spider is extremely fast. Just when Jia Yan was flying backwards and struggling desperately, it was already not far away. Its cold eyes stared at Jia Yan's body. Such a big mosquito, it looks like it can have a feast. Jia Yan seemed to read this message from its eyes. The big-bellied garden spider quickly climbed up the spider silk entangled with Jia Yan, and then its two predatory front legs were about to hook towards Jia Yan's entangled front legs. Boom! Almost at the same moment, Jia Yan felt his body light up, and his body flew backwards and away. It turns out that the front foot was freed from the sticky spider silk. The big-bellied garden spider crawling on the spider web looked at the escaping prey with cold eyes. There was only a faint and cold feeling in its compound eyes. Jia Yan no longer stopped at all and quickly flew in the other direction. "You're too careless. You must pay attention to the spider web next. Even if you slow down a little, safety comes first." He encouraged himself in his mind, and at the same time reminded himself to be extremely careful. The wilderness is too dangerous. If you are not careful, you will easily die. There are too many dangers in the wild that he doesn't understand yet, and there are also too many existences that can kill him. Of course, Jia Yan would not belittle himself. The advantages he mentioned before entering the forest were not lies. His speed is indeed fast, and his body is indeed strong, at least compared to ordinary mosquitoes, it is much stronger. And these points are not his biggest advantage now. His biggest advantage now is that he has human wisdom. If he hadn't possessed human intelligence, he wouldn't have been able to escape the bat chase and the spider web crisis just now. Just ask an ordinary mosquito, does it know how to use sharp turns in the air to judge the movements of bats and then avoid them? The same is true when facing a spider web. When an ordinary mosquito hits a spider web, it will definitely struggle as soon as possible. As a result, the more it struggles, the tighter it will be wrapped up. Then it will only wait to become the food of the big-bellied garden spider. The combination of several comprehensive conditions is Jia Yan's confidence. Although these two dangers just happened in a short period of time, it gives people the illusion that the forest is indeed too dangerous. But in fact, this is just because I am not familiar with the wild. Now I have experienced these two dangers. In the end, as long as I learn how to deal with it, similar risks will naturally be much smaller in the future. It can be done. I am a being who uses the body of a mosquito to kill all humans, so I can definitely do it. Jia Yan cheers himself up. He began to weave around the cobwebs in the forest. Every time I feel the sound of flying creatures in the sky, I immediately hide under the leaves. It's going very well. This dense forest area in Liangshui town can be regarded as a typical small forest area in the mountainous areas of northeast China. It has a lot of shrubs and a variety of biological species derived from it. There are also many predators. Jia Yan walked slowly in this dense forest. Compared to when he entered the forest just now, his speed has slowed down a lot. Although he may not be able to fly 1 kilometer in an hour, this feeling is more reassuring. The forest seems to be much less dangerous to him. There are spider webs ahead again. When Jia Yan carefully avoided a spider web, he suddenly heard a clear and distant chirping sound. He was startled and quickly looked to the sky. In the dark forest, it is difficult to find that there is a glimmer of light in the sky high in the sky. Morning is coming. No, I have to find a hiding place quickly, otherwise there will be many more predators during the day. Jia Yan's scalp tingles at the thought of daytime predators. Although nocturnal creatures such as bats no longer go out, there are more birds such as swallows, sparrows, and predatory insects such as dragonflies and mantises. It will definitely be much more dangerous by then. Just when Jia Yan was eager to find a hiding place, he suddenly saw a huge black creature suddenly appear in his sight. This huge creature has 15 limbs all over its body, and each limb has long and slender legs. At first glance, its body shape is very similar to that of a centipede, and judging from its appearance, this creature does indeed have the same characteristics as a centipede, with the characteristics of an arthropod. Jia Yan is an amateur with extensive knowledge of zoology. When he saw this animal, he immediately recognized that it was indeed a close relative of the centipede. Its full name is centipede, and it is a poisonous insect arthropod. Centipedes are very common, and seeing them in the wild like this is nothing to worry about. But when Jia Yan saw the centipede, his compound eyes nearly popped out of his sockets. Usually a centipede is only 25 millimeters, but this guy is actually about 190 millimeters. A 19 centimeter long centipede? It's too huge, it's totally unreasonable. To be continued. Please collect and recommend. During the recommendation period on the website, I urgently need your support to continue writing. Thank you. Thanks to Lazy Man 009, oh my god, I laughed and cried and forgot. Book Friends 1508142029014997, Menying Luolugo, Ice of the Century, Uncles Born in the 80s and several book friends reward. You only has the motivation to continue writing because of your support. Thank you very much. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 44. What is the concept of 19 centimeters? It is larger than a person's palm open at full strength. This centipede is so big that it can move quickly with its 15 long legs. It can come and go freely in the forest. As long as it doesn't encounter large predators, it is simply invincible. It was crawling in the forest, and there happened to be a small group of ants on the ground. When Jia Yan saw him, he immediately crossed over and chewed the ants crazily. How can it be? Jia Yan watched this centipede wreaking havoc on the ground from a height of 4 to 5 meters, and he really couldn't believe it. No matter how big a creature like a centipede becomes, it will never become this big. It simply cannot be a product of natural evolution. Then there is only one answer. This centipede must have become like this because it stole the Siberian wild tiger's antimicrobial peptide potion, as the bespectacled man on the train said that day. Since mutated centipedes appear here, it means the two killers did not deceive me. The factory is really nearby. Jia Yan's eyes lit up. The appearance of the centipede, at least the factory that he didn't even know existed, directly proved his existence. Jia Yan became more at ease and determined to find the factory. The centipede was still devouring ants on the ground, and would even come forward to devour any creature that was edible. No way, this centipede has become too big. The staple food of this creature was originally ants and other small bugs. Now with such a huge body, it can't get enough no matter how much it eats. It can only eat for a while. Although there are many animals and plants in this mountain forest, no one knows how many ants there are and whether the centipedes will eventually starve to death. This centipede mutated, but the Siberian wild tiger factory did not clean it out. From this, I can deduce two possibilities. The first possibility is that although similar things have happened in the factory before, the Siberian wild tigers and others don't care about this kind of thing at all, or they don't care very much. If they catch this hugely mutated creature, they will destroy it. If they can't catch it, they will destroy it. It doesn't matter. There is a second possibility, that is, there are too many mutated creatures in the factory now, and it is impossible to catch them. Some will always escape, and this centipede is one of them. Of the two guesses, I think the second guess is more likely. After all, a person with foresight, according to the train addict, has developed his power nationwide. How can he leave these mutated creatures alone? Then there is only one. The possibility is that the factory is also in dire straits now, and these mutated creatures can't be controlled at all. Jia Yan was excited. If it was true as he thought, the factory was now in a state of semi-chaos caused by too many mutated creatures. Then his chances will be even greater. I just hope that I don't become a Siberian wild tiger and feel that I can't handle it, so I have to stop the factory. Jia Yan decided to hurry up and go to the so-called factory. But there are really many dangers in the forest during the day. He finally found a palm-thick tree with a cracked bark, and burrowed into it. Hidden in the bark of trees. At this time, the sunlight outside has completely brightened. Some early birds chirped and flew through the forest. This made Jia Yan very happy that he had made a clear decision. His body could fight with bats, but birds would probably be quite tough. Besides, there were really many birds in the forest during the day, and even 10 of him wouldn't be enough to eat him. Just when Jia Yan was rejoicing, he found a colorful strange insect under the bark of the tree, glaring at him. Jia Yan was startled and wanted to fly out of the crack in the bark. But the next moment, his pair of compound eyes focused again, distinguishing this strange insect. Gidding beetles, also known as skin-blasting bugs, have colorful shells and adults can range in size from 1 to 8 centimeters. The appearance and characteristics are not important. The important point is that this insect eats leaves and bark. Vegan, not predatory at all. Jia Yan suddenly stopped moving again. "Brother, you don't mind if we spend a pleasant day together?" He looked at the gidding bug, then moved to a small corner, trying not to disturb the owner's eyes. After all, the gigantic bug in front of him looked more than 3 centimeters long, twice as long as him. It is estimated that the strength is definitely more than twice as strong. You must know that this kind of insect is good at drilling into tree bark, so its strength will definitely not be weak. If it interferes with its eyes and wants to drive him away, Jia Yan really has no choice but to leave. Fortunately, the Gerdinus did not move. Instead, it hid deep in the cracks in the bark, motionless. The mosquitoes and insects were just standing there, no one moving. Jia Yan waited anxiously for the day to pass, but Liangshui town on the outskirts of the forest had a new guest. A commercial vehicle carrying 5 members drove from the highway into the quiet border town. The townspeople looked at the parked commercial vehicle curiously one by one. Speaking of which, there were relatively few tourists from outside this town, and those were the few vehicles that came and went every day. Now, suddenly, an unknown car came, and they suddenly piqued people's interest. Life in a small town with a small population is often like this. The slightest thing can give the townspeople something to talk about. The car door opened, and 3 men, 2 women, and 5 people filed out. The driver is a typical Korean, wearing traditional Korean clothing. Among the other 4 people, 1 man and 1 woman were older, and the other man and woman looked to be in their 20s. The older man who got off the car, after looking at the houses in the town, walked towards a passing town citizen with a smile on his face. "Hello, we would like to inquire. There are rumors in your village recently about the discovery of giant insects, right? We are teachers and students at the School of Life Sciences, Fudan University, Shanghai, and we would like to investigate this matter." 2 young men and women who got off the bus not far away stood together. The man was over 1.8 meters tall. He was neither fat nor thin, and his face was a bit thin, but he was still a handsome boy. He shook his head helplessly at the young woman on his side. "That's what Teacher Lin is like. Last time I heard about the appearance of giant freshwater fish in western Jiangxi, I ran over there, but I didn't get any clues. I think this time it was just hearsay. It's something, and I'm so sorry to invite you as a media major." The young woman responded with a polite smile. "This girl has beautiful long hair and a light pink makeup on her face. She looks fresh and refined. Compared with those urban beauties, she has a sense of purity that many girls have lost." If Jia Yan were here, he would be surprised to find that this girl is actually the girl he saw while driving in the car on the first night he returned to Shanghai after his rebirth. "I remember that she was blackmailed by another girl who was traveling with her. In the end, it was Jia Yan who sucked the blood of the blackmailer girl, which indirectly caused the death of the girl. The girl who was supposed to be in Shanghai turned out to be thousands of miles away and came to a place near Jia Yan." Yatongyu let out a long sigh. "In fact, this trip happened to be with my tutor from the School of Communication, who had some friendship with Mr. Lin from the School of Life Sciences. As a result, the other party proposed a joint action, which was to investigate the giant bugs that were recently rumored to be on the border between China and North Korea. Instructor Lin from the School of Life conducted academic investigations with male students, while Yetongyu and her instructor took photos and collected materials. If there is really news or something, it would be better to have a more professional record. Yetongyu's tutor is an older woman named Chen. Because she is a quick-talking person, students like to call her Chen Kuiyu in private. Anyway, I just want to avoid Ting for a while, so I accepted the invitation, but going through the mountains, can I bear it? Yetongyu looked at the forest scenery outside the town and couldn't help but feel a little discouraged. She has no idea that the other person she passed by in Shanghai a few days ago recognized her, but she didn't recognize the other person's little Mosquito, and now he was in this big forest. Jia Yan is still waiting. During the day, all kinds of life in the forest are obviously much more active. There are not only birds, but also mammals such as rabbits and mountain muntjacs, running around in the mountains and forests. Because Jia Yan is not a human now, he can see more animals in the mountains and forests. As time passed, the sky gradually darkened again. This guy is pretty awesome. He just stood there motionless for so long. Jia Yan looked at the gidding bug below. He had been hiding in the cracks in the bark for so long, but the gidding bug rarely moved. But Jia Yan doesn't have the time to play the game of comparing who is a wooden person with him. It's getting darker outside. When the sun completely sets, the birdsong outside decreases, and animal traces gradually disappear. Jia Yan flapped his wings. It flew out from the crack in the bark. Since we saw a mutated bug yesterday, the factory must not be far away. No matter what, we must find it tonight. The dark Anopheles sinensis mosquito is buzzing and flying in the sky. That centipede's appearance seems to have given Jia Yan a shot in the arm. Since the other party can grow to such a terrifying level, I will definitely have a chance to mutate again due to the liquid. The ability to hide from danger that was honed in the forest last night was fully utilized today. Jia Yan feels that he is getting more and more comfortable in this forest at night. Seeing the flying figure of a bat in the distance, he hid in a blind corner. Seeing the narrow gaps between the trees, he would rather take a detour than go there, because there may be spider webs in these gaps. If he is entangled again, he cannot guarantee that he will escape again. Being handy doesn't mean you are invincible, but you are more cautious about dangers. After all, predators are not everywhere in the forest. As long as Jia Yan is careful, the possibility of encountering danger again in a short time will be greatly reduced. Finally, just when Jia Yan felt that he had circled half a circle within the source range of those simple maps, a little light appeared in his visual system. That's a human building. To be continued. Please collect it. For book friends who don't know how to add to your collection, you should first register an account on Cheateon.com, then log into your account and find the book page, and click to add it to your bookshelf. Thanks to the book friends of Oh My God, Tyrant, Qin Shiwang, Tree of Seven Heavens, The Best Future and Z27818708775 for their tips. Many of them have tipped me several times. Thank you very much by you, your support is the motivation for me to update. Thanks. Reborn as an Interstellar Giant Mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 45. Seeing the light, Jia Yan, who had been wandering in the forest for 2 days, suddenly felt refreshed. He flew over. This is a small group of buildings. It looks like it has been there for many years, and there are obvious traces of war on it. Bullet marks appear on the surface of the building, and the pits prove the tragic past these buildings have experienced. There are 3 buildings in this area, and all 3 are 3-story buildings. At this time, lights are revealed in the windows. When Jia Yan saw these buildings, he was stunned. He suddenly knew that these 3 ancient buildings with scarred surfaces might be remnants of the war years decades ago. You must know that this border area has been occupied by several countries and forces. It would not be unbelievable if one of them left any buildings in this deep mountain and old forest. But the buildings that should have been silent, and finally weathered and collapsed in the deep mountains, are now lit with lights, and the faint roar of some machines can be heard. This must be the factory of the Siberian wild tigers. According to my judgment, it happens to be the location of a certain circle on the map. It seems that the killer organization where the two bearded men belong has extremely strong intelligence capabilities. Even such you can know the direction of the buildings in the deep mountains and old forests. Jia Yan flew towards these three buildings. The closer you get, the more you can hear the roar of machines. This is indeed a factory. Jia Yan saw that the three buildings were surrounded by walls, and there were many cameras pointing inside and outside. It looks like the defense is very tight. There are only 3 guard booths that can be seen. These cameras can almost be said to have no blind spots. However, in such a large forest, there are so many insects my size that no one will be surprised if I fly in front of the camera. Jia Yan flew close with relief. The 3 buildings are not as dilapidated as their appearance seems, at least they have undergone some repairs. Jia Yan's compound eyes flashed. As he flew outside the building, he could already smell a very attractive smell. This smell was exactly the same as the scent of the purple potion he had eaten before, but it was more intense and seemed to be in extremely large quantities. This is indeed the Siberian wild tiger factory. Jia Yan's blood began to feel boiling. After searching for so long, spending so much effort, and even encountering danger several times, finally, I found the Siberian wild tiger factory for me, and it seemed that this factory actually contained the antimicrobial peptide liquid that I had drunk before. The effort I spent was indeed in vain. But now is not the time to get excited. Jia Yan suppressed his emotions. At this time, he had not succeeded at all. The next step was the key, which was how to get the purple-red liquid from the factory. From the outside, except for the one that looks like an office building, the other 2 buildings are sealed. It just so happens that these buildings were originally military buildings. If they were modified casually, it would be difficult for even mosquitoes to sneak into them. Let's go find out the news first. Jia Yan made a decision, and then flew into the fence. Under this clear night sky, there is a vast forest area. It is close to the Qinbei Mountains. The typical northern low mountainous terrain has given this area a large number of jungles. Although these jungles are not as dense as the southern forests, the trees are extremely tall and can block out the sky and sun. And 3 buildings that had existed for decades unknown were standing in the forest. A place that was supposed to be inaccessible to human beings, there were machines roaring and workers busy around in the building. Among these 3 buildings, one is used as an office building and dormitory. In the office at this time, a tall and strong young man was frowning and thinking. In front of this young man, stood another frail man who was also young but thin and wore glasses on the bridge of his nose. "Boss, I think you should shut down the factory for half a month and send some people to eliminate the mutant bugs nearby," the man with glasses tried to ask cautiously. "No," the tall, muscular young man waved his hand without hesitation, rejecting the bespectacled man's proposal. He rubbed his eyes that were sore from staying up late, and said helplessly, "You also know, we are like walking on a tightrope now. These liquids must not be broken. Once broken, all aspects of revenge and coveting will come. After all, our foundation is not strong yet, and our connections and foundation are not good enough." The man with glasses moved his mouth, but finally said nothing. "You didn't tell anyone about the worker's death, right?" the tall young man asked. "No," the man with glasses replied. "After all, when he went out for medical treatment with us, he was just bitten by a mutated bug, and everything seemed normal. Those workers must not have thought that he died right after going out. I also followed. They said that the man just asked for leave to go home to visit relatives and might not come back for 10 days and a half. Very good. In these half a month, I want you to double your production. Can you do it? Double the output. The man with glasses was surprised. It can be done, but the supply of that hole may be insufficient. Don't worry about it. This hole has been there for who knows how many years. Will it still be insufficient if we increase the output? You increase the intensity of extraction and just double the output in half a month. This is our survival crisis, do you understand? The tall young man decided without hesitation. That's okay, the man with glasses responded hesitantly. At this moment, a dark mosquito quietly flew outside the window of this office in the darkness of night. Mosquito looked at the two people inside the window. There is a brilliant flash in a pair of compound eyes. This mosquito was none other than Jia Yan. He looked at the two people who were still discussing in the middle of the night in the window and immediately recognized that the tall young man had given him a lucky northeast wild tiger in the train. And that man with glasses was the young man with glasses who later said keywords such as factory in the train aisle with the Siberian wild tiger men. Speaking of which, these two people are both Jia Yan's benefactors. Without them, Jia Yan would not have mutated, nor would he be able to impress the keyboard and mouse with the body of a mosquito. Then, the subsequent intrigues with the two killers and finally getting help from each other will not happen. So overall, Jia Yan is very grateful to them. But now, if the other party will hinder him from trying the next mutation, then it will be very embarrassing. Anyway, the other party cannot know anything about him, so Jia Yan can only treat them as enemies. Their conversation should be of some help to me, but this door and window can't be entered at all. It seems that the so-called giant bugs have made them very defensive. Jia Yan flew around the building and found that the doors and windows were either closed or covered by screens, leaving not even a single gap. What is that? Jia Yan was about to continue looking for a way without giving up, when he saw an animal that looked like a cockroach crawling in a room. But this cockroach is too big, more than 10 times larger than ordinary cockroaches. It's 13 or 4 centimeters in size. Jia Yan was stunned, and then he saw this mutated guy coming to the screen window of the house, opening his mouth and biting it. If you look closely, you will see that it is just a mutated cockroach. The screen on the window screen could not resist the bite of this mutated cockroach, and a gap immediately appeared. The mutated cockroach tried its tentacles outward twice, and then just climbed out of the window. Opportunity, Jia Yan waited for the mutated cockroach to leave, looked at the broken screen window, and flew in directly. He finally figured it out. These 3 buildings seemed to be well defended, but after all, they were non-professional level defenses. They were not at the same level as that kind of laboratory. For example, this cockroach could bite through the gauze after mutating. Failure to take this into consideration means that this factory is not as scary as it seems. This cockroach appeared from inside this building. Maybe it didn't enter from the outside at all, but it has been living in this building. It even mutated in the building. It happened. Then is it possible for me, that there will also be purple-red liquid in this office building? Jia Yan was slightly happy. If he didn't have to enter the 2 workshops that seemed to be more tightly guarded, he would definitely save a lot of trouble and be much safer. He used his pair of tentacles to sense the smell in the air. There are many smells that mosquitoes can distinguish, especially the smell of carbon dioxide, as well as other messy biological odors, etc. Of course, Jia Yan can also clearly sense this kind of smell that attracts them. The taste is very light, but it's not non-existent. Jia Yan escaped from the smell coming from the purple-red potion and flew lightly. Fortunately, it was late at night, and even if some cameras captured Jia Yan's body blending into the darkness, the personnel on duty might not necessarily see it. This building, which serves as an office building, is partly used as an office and partly as a dormitory. Jia Yan flew away from the smell and then came to a room with lights on. There is an iron door locked outside this room, but the door inside is not closed. Moreover, the light in this room was still on at this time, as if the owner had only left for a moment. The smell of the liquid medicine comes out from here. To be continued. Thanks to the two brothers, I laughed and cried after watching it, and oh my bastard, as well as the beauty Menying Luoluo for the reward again. Thanks. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 46. Jia Yanfei was at the door of the room, first trying to reduce the flying sound as much as possible. Then he raised the flight altitude to a height that humans couldn't easily hit, and flew a little closer to take a look inside. In the room, there are some simple experimental tools, microscopes, petri dishes, and the corpses of some organisms. There were utensils placed everywhere, and there was a huge biological body on the table, lying there cut into several pieces. Jia Yan's compound eyes flashed, and he discovered that there were dozens of cages containing giant mutated creatures on the floor of the room. There are either insects or arthropods crawling on the ground. There are many types and numbers. Some of them were furious and kept attacking the iron cage, while others were weak and some even starved to death. Biologists would be extremely surprised if they saw these animals in front of them. You know, among these mutated creatures, there is a centipede, which is even more than 760 centimeters long. It is entrenched there like a big snake, and its shape is terrifying. The 1-meter centipede, do you think it is scary or not? Jia Yan was slightly shocked to see these creatures. As a zoology enthusiast, he could naturally distinguish some of them. However, he did not expect that so many of them would break through the biological limits and mutate to such a terrifying level after taking in the medicinal liquid. However, he himself has mutated, and with the foreshadowing of seeing a few mutated creatures before, now that he sees so many mutated creatures, he only feels surprised for a moment. Not long after watching those animals, he once again set his sights on the table in the room. Then, he saw a purple-red liquid quietly flowing there in the petri dish that attracted him the most. This purple-red color appears to ordinary humans. Maybe it's just a slightly bright color, but in Jia Yan's opinion, it's a very alluring and coquettish color. This purple-red color is alluring and beautiful, coupled with the refreshing smell. Jia Yan can't stop. There is indeed liquid medicine here. Jia Yan looked at the purple color in the vessel and felt ecstatic. There was really no one in the room. And the closed door is just an iron door to protect against humans. Even a cat can easily get through the cracks, not to mention Jia Yan. But don't be careless, maybe this is a trick of the owner of the room. After all, he caught so many mutant creatures in cages, maybe he used traps to capture them. Jia Yan looked at the gap in the iron door and made sure that there was no power grid or anything like that before he flew inward cautiously. During the flight, Jia Yan suddenly realized that he had missed a very important point. That is, in all the cages of mutated creatures, there is not a single dipteran insect. The cockroaches just now belong to the order Blattida, and centipedes and the like are arthropods. No matter how you look at it, among these mutated animal species, there is really no diptera. Jia Yan thought for a while, and suddenly realized that the dipteran animals that mosquitoes belong to are basically flying animals. It seems that their physical constitution is inherently poor. Even flies, which are said to be invulnerable to all poisons, may not be able to resist the power of the purple-red liquid. As for Jia Yan himself, he trained like crazy when he was born, and with the tenacity of the human soul, he was able to barely survive the power of the medicine, and he was considered an anomaly. While he was thinking about this, he did not give up his vigilance. After flying into the room from a height close to the ceiling, he immediately looked around again. There are no biological characteristics of human beings, Jia Yan can confirm this right outside the door. After all, he is a mosquito, and he can sense the heat signature of humans inside and the carbon dioxide signature of exhalation outside the door. Although there is no one there, I am afraid there is some insecticide or the like. Fortunately, it looks like there are none of these. Jia Yan withdrew his gaze from the mutated animals and put it back on the table, the vessel containing the purple-red liquid. He felt his internal organs squirming, and he could hardly resist the strong urge to suck. But do I need to endure it now? I don't feel any danger at all, so I don't need to be patient at all, okay. Buzz. Jia Yan rushed towards the purple-red liquid poured into the petri dish at almost the fastest speed. Zhizzy. An unknown creature in the cage made a piercing cry, as if Jia Yan had plundered their most delicious food. I'm sorry, these purple-red liquids belong to me. Jia Yan threw himself in the petri dish. There is a shallow purple-red liquid under the feed. This liquid is only about 2 millimeters deep, and the petri dish is only about 3 centimeters in diameter. There is not much purple-red liquid inside. What hit his face was the extremely pleasant smell. Jia Yan's tentacles swayed, enjoying the smell very much. But when he is enjoying the taste, the clicking sound was very clear in the dead of night. Outside the iron gate, the door of the Northeast Wild Tiger's office suddenly opened. Okay, I bothered you for so long. You can continue to do experiments and try to get certain pharmacological analysis results tomorrow. Thank you for your hard work. The familiar voice of the Northeast Wild Tiger also reached Jia Yan. I will work hard. Boss, don't be too tired. Go and take a rest. The sound of the door closing was heard again, and then Jia Yan heard the footsteps of a human being slowly approaching. It's the man with glasses. This might be his so-called laboratory. Jia Yan was so anxious that he could no longer enjoy the fragrance of the purple-red liquid. He stabbed his slender mouthpart into the liquid, activated maximum suction, and sucked in the purple-red liquid like crazy. It's a pity that I didn't fully appreciate the taste of the purple-red liquid last time, and I still can't fully appreciate it this time. Compared with when he drank the purple-red medicinal liquid before, Jia Yan is now much larger and can absorb more liquid. He frantically drew out the liquid in the petri dish, filling as much as he could. After one try, he already knows that every bit of this purple-red liquid is capital for future mutation, so don't waste it. Click. Jia Yan suddenly heard footsteps outside the room, and then the sound of unlocking the iron door came clearly. No. I haven't drunk until I'm full. No, no. I can't stop yet. Please find me later. Jia Yan roared in his heart, but his mouthparts were still frantically absorbing the liquid. However, what happened was counterproductive. After the bespectacled man entered the room, he immediately walked towards the table filled with experimental products. Just as he was approaching the table, he suddenly caught a glimpse from the corner of his eye. When he was called out by the Siberian wild tiger, there was a large black mosquito lying there in the petri dish that had not been cleaned up enough to absorb the medicinal liquid. There has never been an example of a diptera surviving after absorbing the liquid. You were greedy and drank so much. The bespectacled man stared at the black mosquitoes in the petri dish with his eyes under the thick lenses, and then stretched out his hand to a plate on the table to cushion the utensils. He was about to cover the petri dish violently, and then the big mosquito inside was left to his own devices. Jia Yan in the petri dish, his thick blood vessel-shaped heart was beating wildly, and his whole person was in a state of extreme tension. Seeing the man with glasses getting closer and closer, but he still didn't move. I haven't reached my saturation state yet. Jia Yan is not willing to give up if he is not saturated. He fought hard. And when the bespectacled man grabbed the pad, a feeling of saturation suddenly came from Jia Yan's belly. Completely full, he was ecstatic in his heart. The bespectacled man had already picked up the pad. At this moment, Jia Yan's wings suddenly flapped. He used his greatest strength. Even if your wings are injured, you must take off as quickly as possible. Now that I have sucked so much liquid, my weight has more than doubled. If I don't fly at full strength, I might be killed by this pad. Fly for me. Jia Yan roared in his heart. Buzz. Buzz. The mosquito's wings can flap more than 500 times per second. Under Jia Yan's full strength, the speed of the wings soared to more than 600 times per second. It was as if Jia Yan was suddenly equipped with a motor, and with a buzz, he flew up from the vessel. The backing board was also photographed by the owner in surprise. Since he couldn't be captured alive, the bespectacled man must have chosen to kill the creatures that might mutate. No. This is Anopheles sinensis. Such a big Anopheles sinensis has already undergone a mutation. We must catch him. The moment Jia Yan flew up, the man with glasses immediately discovered his true identity. There are many types of mosquitoes in the world, but generally those as big as Jia Yan are not blood-sucking types. As Anopheles sinensis is a well-known blood-sucking mosquito species in China, this man majoring in biology can naturally easily recognize it. There is no way Anopheles sinensis can grow to such a big size. Seeing such a big Anopheles sinensis in the factory, the man with glasses naturally thought that the Anopheles sinensis had secretly eaten the antimicrobial peptide solution in the factory, and found the book and survived. Come down and go through a mutation. You must know that no dipteran insect has successfully mutated before. This suddenly made the man with glasses have the urge to study. But if you can't catch it, you won't get anything. Although his guess was not completely correct, Jia Yan did undergo a mutation because of the medicinal liquid in their factory. The bespectacled man waved the pad in his hand and suddenly took the photo, life or death. Jia Yan looked at the swinging pad and felt the power, which made his scalp explode. Compared with the power of human beings, the water flies, bats, sparrows, etc. that we encountered before were simply weak. It just so happened that he had gained weight after taking the liquid medicine. With such a huge weight, if he was slapped by this pad in the air, he would definitely die. Wings. Beat me faster, Jia Yan roared in his heart. It can be said that Jia Yan has exerted 120% of his power, and the wings feel like they are almost disabled. But I still have to fly even if I am disabled. Or die. To be continued. Please collect this book. After logging into your Cheateon.com account, just click Add to Bookshelf on the book page. Thanks to the so-called Love Me, I laughed and cried after reading it. Oh my god, Sulimaju, Depressed Fool, Autobot Tien, Mo Chen Wuming and several book friends. Thanks for your support. Baiyu has infinite power to update. Thank you very much. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 47. Buzz. Jia Yan's wings are like helicopter propeller blades, making a piercing scream. Then his entire body rose rapidly from the air to a high place. The pad that was slapped hit the empty space without any danger. Jia Yan actually unleashed his greatest potential at this moment and dodged the blow. The bespectacled man felt a little surprised. He was not surprised that he couldn't swat the mosquito. He was just surprised when he saw that the mosquito was flying faster than he imagined. This individual is very interesting. If you can catch it and study it, you might gain something. Damn it! The medicine is here. Jia Yan, who was flying near the ceiling, shook his body. The bespectacled man below has reached to the side and picked up a catching net with a slender handle. These people have caught so many animals, there must be many similar catching tools. When Jia Yan saw this, he quickly flew out of the iron gate. You can't run away. The man with glasses held tools in hand, opened the iron door and pursued him. Jia Yan felt extremely uncomfortable all over his body. The purple-red medicinal liquid began to boil in his abdomen. Some of the organs along the body had already begun to transform and mutate the body. Originally, he should have found a place to endure this pain. Yes, but now is simply not the time. There is also a man with glasses chasing him. If he is caught, he will definitely die. Misfortunes never come singly. Just when Jia Yan was about to get rid of the arresting tool in the hands of the bespectacled man, the office door in front opened again. The man had a strong and tall figure, and looked a little dazed at this time. He is the Northeast Wild Tiger. Boss, catch that mosquito, it's a mutated mosquito, the man with glasses used a catching net to catch it, but Jia Yan's eyes were on him, and as soon as he saw him making a move, he quickly dodged to the side, letting the catching net empty. Oh, the Siberian Wild Tiger's gaze focused on Jia Yan. He returned to the office and picked up the capture tool. It has to be said that this place has been infested with insects for a long time, and most rooms are always equipped with catching tools. Jia Yan endured the physical discomfort and prayed for a little longer for the mutant liquid to take effect, while trying hard to flap his wings and fly forward. Click. Northeastern Wild Tiger's office room opened again, and he held the same capture tool as the man with glasses in his hand, but this man was tall and strong. As soon as he went out, he stretched out the tool towards Jia Yan, who happened to fly in front of his office door. Jia Yan was distracted to feel the severe pain in his body, but he didn't expect that a huge catching net was stretched out in front of him. Drop me. Jia Yan's movement of flapping his wings and flying forward suddenly turned into falling downwards. Because his body contains a large amount of purple-red liquid, Jia Yan has a very high weight. Naturally, he completed the falling action very quickly. He actually escaped the Siberian Wild Tiger's capture net. However, the fall was too fast and Jia Yan could not control the height. This fall, he fell right below, in front of the face of the Siberian Wild Tiger. The Siberian Wild Tiger was also slightly startled. The huge dark black Anopheles mosquito, which was only about 10 centimeters away from his eyes, made him look strangely beautiful. The next moment, he stretched out the palm of his left hand and grabbed Jia Yan's body with a slap. How is it possible to catch a mosquito if you catch it with one palm? Jia Yan's wings vibrated with a buzz and he flew suddenly. The Northeastern Wild Tiger's hand, as big as a cattail leaf, was suddenly empty. After breaking through the last hurdle of the Northeast Wild Tiger, Jia Yan was like a wild horse that had escaped the reins, flying quickly in the aisle. Behind him were two men chasing after him. He can't run away. There is no way out here. The effect of the potion will definitely decrease later, the man in glasses panted as he followed the Siberian Wild Tiger. But at this time, Jia Yanfei entered a room with the door open. The two men hurriedly chased after him. But when they entered the room, they only saw this huge Anopheles sinensis mosquito, its body descending and getting into the gap that opened a hole in the screen window. No, the Siberian Wild Tiger took a quick step and reached out to grab Jia Yan, who was getting into the gap in the gauze. I told you, how can you catch mosquitoes with a slap? When Jia Yan could catch it with his palm, 6 long legs gave him a powerful push. His whole body came out of the gauze, and outside was the vast night sky. His wings suddenly spread out, and his body quickly flew away into the dark night. Inside the screen window, the Siberian Wild Tiger's empty palm was clenched into a fist, with an ugly expression on its face. Not being able to catch even a small mosquito, the Siberian Wild Tiger felt its face was dull. Isn't this a dormitory room? Go find out who sleeps here. You don't know how to close the door when you go out. And from now on, all windows will no longer have screens. Close the windows one by one, and turn on the electric fan when it's hot. The Northeastern Wild Tiger turned around angrily and returned to the office. Jia Yan was flying in the night sky, surrounded by darkness. After escaping from the dangerous environment, the feeling of relaxation suddenly filled the whole body, but at the same time, the terrifying impact of the medicinal liquid was also accompanied by it. Jia Yan's body trembled suddenly, and his wings almost stopped. You can't stop flying yet. This is still within the scope of the factory, so fly further away. The mosquito, whose belly was round after absorbing the liquid, flew unsteadily in the air, rising and falling again, completely unable to control its direction. Jia Yan felt tingling pain everywhere in his body. His 6 long legs began to tremble violently, and sometimes one of his wings would flap and the other would stop moving. No more. As soon as he flew 20 or 30 meters away from the factory wall, he couldn't bear it anymore. He quickly fell headlong down. His vision was blurred, Jia Yan's body was tingling, and his consciousness was blurred. I just vaguely saw a hollow-like place and dived straight into it. Pain. Severe pain. This kind of pain is still so strong, it is still the kind of feeling that makes people feel worse than death. Hold on. I persisted last time, there's no reason why I can't persist this time. Jia Yan, you can definitely do it. As long as you endure these pains, you will become stronger in no time. Your lifespan will be increased and your strength will be greater. Think good things. Maybe I won't be afraid of bats anymore, I won't be afraid of small birds anymore. I won't even be afraid of humans in the future. Such a good thing is right in front of us. Why not endure the pain? It must be possible. It must be possible. Dark mosquitoes were struggling and swaying in the holes. As the night passed, bright white sunlight appeared outside the hole. But the little mosquito in the hole is still fighting for life and death. Turning and struggling, the body twisted weirdly. Some weird substances were flowing down the surface of the exoskeleton, and then the exoskeleton seemed to be stretched and cracked little by little. The cracked area was immediately subsidized by new material, but the next crack appeared again. All the internal organs are boiling. This feeling is like every cell in the body is dividing and mutating violently. The sun is shining brightly, but Jia Yan is still in the midst of dire straits and fiery changes. A thin layer of substance condensed on the surface of his body. The body beneath the substance seemed to have completely melted. Under the transparent exoskeleton, there were internal organs that were almost visible to the naked eye. These internal organs are also changing, with countless damages occurring at the cellular level. These damages cause major changes in the entire genetic structure, making it more perfect and more painful. Jia Yan's consciousness had already fallen into a semi-coma state. He was ups and downs, thinking a lot and dreaming a lot. The memory seems to go back to the past, the days when I was human. In the academy, in addition to looking up some biological information on the internet every day, I study animals that have disappeared in the long river of history. These are the greatest joys of Jia Yan's life. While researching what you like, you wait and look forward to the day when the goddess in your mind will hang up the phone and invite you to sit somewhere and talk about animals and plants. Going back further, it's when I was in junior high school or high school. In school, everyone likes sports, animation, computer games, and other things. He is the only one who is silent and likes to hold biology textbooks and read them with gusto. It seems that there were days when I was bullied, but one day I suddenly broke out and beat a classmate who snatched my school bag away in the classroom until his face was covered with blood. The bullying ended. It seems that there is a trace of impulsiveness in my bones from a long time ago. Looking back in memory, Jia Yan came to primary school. At that time, I had to take care of my younger sister who was also in primary school and went to school with her every day. Sometimes while walking, my younger sister Jialin would get awkward and cry. There's nothing I can do about it, my sister is 3 years younger than me, and she's still a child. He was thinking about this at that time, and then comforted Jialin without any complaints. Brother, the mosquito bit me, the younger sister cried. Mosquito. Right? I am no longer human, I am a mosquito. Jia Yan, who was in a daze, suddenly came back to his senses. Isn't this a revolving lantern? It is said that before a person dies, he will have a revolving door of memories and go through his entire life. I also have revolving memories. Am I going to die? Will I die? No. Absolutely not to die. Finally, I found thousands of kilometers away. Com found the Siberian wild tiger factory, experienced so many dangers during this period, and even searched for it in the forest for 2 days. Using wit and bravery, I finally got enough purple-red liquid for the second mutation and evolution from the bespectacled man's laboratory. I'm not willing to die like this after spending so much effort. Jia Yan roared in his heart. Revolving door, end it for me. I don't want to die yet. All illusions are shattered by me. I don't want to remember. I just want to live well now. I just want to live well now. I will never die. Jia Yan's inner roar almost turned into reality. Pibo. The sound of something breaking was felt in Jia Yan's auditory organs. Click. Click click click. A series of cracking sounds continued to sound. Jia Yan used all his strength to twitch his 6 long legs. Click, click, click. The cracking sound became more violent. To be continued. Recommended for my collection, Buletin roared in his heart, as long as the grades are decent, this book will definitely not be a prisoner. Hey, let's do some prank. Thanks to the uncle of the post-80s, book friends 1407281829034457, Depressed Fool and Menying Lulugo book friends for their rewards, thank you. Reborn as an Interstellar Giant Mosquito. Author, Buletin Yu. Chapter 48. Jia Yan's consciousness quickly returned, and he felt like he was trapped in a solid object. He didn't know how much time had passed or his current physical condition. Can't move. This feeling is like pupating, but even more uncomfortable than pupating. The object that trapped him was too strong. According to Jia Yan's previous strength, he couldn't move at all. Fortunately, after he regained consciousness, the object under his front feet seemed to have become a little loose due to his movements, making a click-click sound. Break it, Jia Yan controlled the front feet and shook them hard. The solid object that had some signs of breaking was suddenly broken free by Jia Yan's front foot, and suddenly more cracks appeared. Jia Yan felt the power of his feet, as if a volcano had been brewing for a long time and was about to explode. Ahaha, what a powerful force! Jia Yan felt it in his heart, and then his front foot suddenly twisted again. This time, he used all his strength. Click, click, click. Snap. The hard object wrapping the front foot was like dry cement, which shattered all over the place in an instant. The crackling sound of those broken objects was very exaggerated, and they immediately seemed to be like snowflakes, flying into the air after bursting. The forefoot is completely free. Jia Yan felt very happy, and then the 4 long legs behind him started to work together. Click, click, click. Snap. Snap. In the sky full of debris, Jia Yan simply let go of his exaggerated strength and moved with all his strength. His whole body was wrapped in these cement-like solid objects. If it were him before, he would not be able to break free no matter what. But now, Jia Yan found that not only could he break free, but he could also feel relaxed and free-spirited. For a moment, the entire space was filled with loud crackling sounds. Debris was flying everywhere, and the scene was simply appalling. What kind of power is this? Is this how powerful it is after the second mutation? It's too exaggerated. Jia Yan's new body was finally completely exposed to the air. Mutated again, the body actually reached 7 centimeters in length in one breath. The perspective of looking at things is completely different from before. The whole body, from top to bottom, is full of strength and beauty. The whole body is dark and shining, that kind of black is more pure. The exoskeletons on the top and bottom of the body have also become stronger. The tiny scales that used to cover the exoskeleton suddenly grew in size, each one visible to the naked eye, and they were densely packed, covering the whole body. The veins on both wings were originally covered with some wing scales, but they were very inconspicuous. But at this time, these wing scales were exaggeratedly covering all the wing veins, and there was a faint tendency to spread to the entire wing. It's just that these wing scales are lighter than the huge and thick scales on the body, and the color is not black, but translucent milky white. Power. Life force. Jia Yan felt it. Really feel it. The vitality is roaring. The power is boiling. The magnitude of the second variation was even more exaggerated than the first. With this mutation, he was completely in two different states than before. The surging vitality felt throughout the body is not only a powerful influence, but also a large jump in vitality, making the body more energetic. The changes in vitality and strength made Jia Yan see the world differently. Perhaps the first mutation was not as useless as imagined. After all, that time, its body was more than 10 times the size of an ordinary Anopheles sinensis mosquito, and it could even lift an eraser twice its own weight. But, that although the magnitude of the secondary mutation is also very large, it still looks weak in front of many creatures, so that it doesn't feel much. And this time, Jia Yan lifted one of his front feet. It seemed that this front foot no longer looked like a mosquito's legs, slender and thin, but actually thick. The power he now possesses is difficult for Jia Yan to control. He vaguely discovered that after taking in the purple-red liquid for the second time, his body faintly broke through some kind of shackles. The shackles were broken, and there seemed to be an extremely broad avenue unfolding before our eyes. Right now, he is just standing at the starting line of this road. Of course, this feeling may just be my illusion. Jia Yan shook his head and put aside these unrealistic thoughts. He began to look at the dry debris at his feet. After looking at it for a while, Jia Yan suddenly realized that these things were really similar to the pupa shells he formed when he pupated. But it is stronger, and it completely wraps his current body, unlike pupation, which forms a circle. If the force is smaller, it is possible to be completely trapped by these dry objects, and that is true death. What on earth is that purple-red liquid? It's definitely not some antibacterial peptide. Jia Yan was a little silent. As for antimicrobial peptides, he also searched online while using his computer to communicate with several killers, and then discovered that so-called antimicrobial peptides are drugs made from certain substances extracted from various insects. But how can ordinary antimicrobial peptides have such a powerful effect on living things? It is simply impossible. It is absolutely impossible for the research and development technology of the Northeast Wild Tiger Factory to reach this level. Just rely on the petri dishes that the bespectacled man placed on the table. If this could lead to drug research and development, then the world's top medical scientists would be crawling all over the place. They must have secrets. But none of this has anything to do with me. What I care about is just whether this purple-red liquid can make me mutate again. Jia Yan moved his 6 long legs. His huge new body and the sense of power he had never experienced before made it difficult for him to maintain balance. Huh? This is actually inside a can. Jia Yan looked at the cave he was in, and then realized that he was so dazed when the medicine was taking effect that he actually entered an empty can. Fortunately, the inside of this can is still dry, and it is not occupied by other creatures. The environment is actually very good. Let's go out. The last mutation only took about half a day, but this time it obviously took more time. I don't know how long it has been. After a while, a dark male Anopheles sinensis mosquito that could definitely be called a huge one appeared to be very bloated from the mouth of a certain brand of can, and slowly crawled out. Fortunately, my body hasn't grown too much yet. If I were bigger, I would have to try to see if my strength can break a can. Of course, I don't have any expectations for this. After all, it's not that easy for humans to break a can with bare hands. Simple. One bite cannot make you fat. Finally, Jia Yan was bathed in the sun. The scorching sun was shining brightly, which made Jia Yan understand that he would not mutate at least once before the time came to winter. Maybe just 2 or 3 days, no more than 4 days at most. Jia Yan shook his back and saw the pair of extremely aerodynamic wings covered with light scales. Buzz. Some delicate green grass on the ground was suddenly blown to the ground by a current of air. The wings vibrate up and down. Buzz. Jia Yan's huge body began to rise slowly. The scenery on the ground, in his pair of compound eyes, became lower and lower. The body may become huge and dozens of times heavier, but the wings will still fly easily. Very good. Jia Yan felt an unprecedented power exploding in his body. The blood transports oxygen from the outside, and this oxygen turns into a source of support for strength, making the muscle tissue connected to his wings and mid-chest more powerful. At this size, more oxygen is consumed. Jia Yan needs to consciously breathe oxygen vigorously to ensure oxygen supply. Buzz buzz. Now the sound his mosquito makes is very loud, like an old-fashioned propeller-powered bomber flying fast in the sky. Giant mosquitoes measuring 7 centimeters are extremely rare to see in today's world. Jia Yan is this kind of existence now. What's more, compared with those light giant mosquitoes and giant mosquito creatures, he is even bigger. The exoskeletons expand, as if they have very strong muscles, making his body look less thin. He soars in the sky, flying towards the jungle. The scenery on the ground was passing by quickly, and Jia Yan found that his flying speed was definitely much faster than before. Even though it's daytime, he's still flying. It seems that he wants to vent his old worries and fears in one breath. Of course, he also knows that there are still many animals that he can prey on now, but compared to before, now that he is 7 centimeters in size, he doesn't have to be afraid of bats at all. Even creatures such as swallows are basically impossible to regard themselves as prey. The threat to his survival suddenly decreased a lot. So Jia Yan flew in broad daylight. The large-scale biological research investigation team from Shanghai City has been trekking through the mountains and forests for 2 days. In 2 days, they gained very little. Among the 5 members, only the driver who served as the driver was a local, and the other 4 were all teachers and students from higher education institutions in Shanghai. The driver is just a guide who collects money to carry out errands, so there is no impatience about the itinerary of this small team. But a few other people were a bit out of control, especially the young boy majoring in biology, who seemed to have a physique that attracted mosquitoes. He had been bitten severely by some mosquitoes in the past 2 days, and he was very angry. "Teacher, I think we should go back. We have been searching for 2 days and still haven't found anything. I think the clues this time are probably passed on by false rumors. Those country people lied and lied." Find the bookstore. Finally, after one slip, he spoke to his middle-aged mentor. "Xiao Su, how could you do this? In our industry, if you don't even have this patience, how can you develop into a professional academic in the future?" The middle-aged man with some gray hair frowned. The other 2 female teachers and students majoring in media who were traveling with me didn't complain about their suffering, but my own student did it first. "What's the matter?" "But, teacher, I'm afraid of mosquitoes," the young student cried with a sad face, grabbing his arms that were bitten by mosquitoes and swollen. "Which one?" His mentor's eyes froze after hearing him say mosquito. "Mosquitoes," he repeated the student's words. "Teacher, what's wrong with the mosquito?" the young student asked strangely. "Mosquito, look, big mosquito. There are really huge creatures here." The gray-haired instructor suddenly pointed at the sky and shouted. In the sky, what could be called a huge dark black mosquito flew lightly over everyone's heads. To be continued. A super chapter of 3,500 words is presented, please collect it. Thanks to Demon Lord Wudeo. Oh my god, I laughed and cried and forgot. Baiyu is extremely grateful for the rewards from the above book friends. Explain that Diptera is a complete metamorphosis, so the progress is more exaggerated and more difficult. Research team. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 49. Every member of the scientific expedition team in the forest suddenly raised their heads. After wandering around the mountains for 2 days, these people were very tired. But after traveling all the way from Shanghai to this border forest, we couldn't just go back casually. That would be a waste of time, let alone the funds allocated by the school. But just when everyone had given up hope for this mission, they heard the mission organizer, Instructor Lin from the School of Life, suddenly shouting, "Big mosquito!" Everyone looked up in surprise. However, these people saw a huge dark mosquito with a body length of about 7 or 8 centimeters flying suddenly from high in the sky, and then disappeared among the bushes. Such a big mosquito. Teacher Chen from the School of Communication, known as Chen Kuiyu, looked shocked. How is it possible? Do so-called giant creatures really exist? Among all the people, Yetangyu was probably the only one who came with the team to avoid disaster because he didn't believe it from the beginning. Now that he saw such a huge mosquito, he suddenly felt like he was overturning his previous firm belief. Could it be that there are really many giant creatures in this border forest? As for the male student from the School of Life, he shivered immediately after seeing such a big mosquito. He looked at the swelling on his arm and hoped in his heart that he would never be killed by such a huge mosquito. It's better to take a bite, otherwise the swelling will be huge. Very good, we have gained something today. Let's work harder. Seeing it with our own eyes doesn't count. Even if we can't catch one, we still need to take a picture to have evidence. The expression on Teacher Lin's face finally changed from gloomy to clear. That's right, if more evidence can be found, our School of Communication will be lucky. Teacher Lin's eyes also lit up. The two students didn't think too much. Yetangyu was just here to waste time. The boy hated the life in the jungle. He was not a mosquito-attractive person and didn't understand his pain. Okay, get ready for camping tonight, and let's explore deeper into the jungle. In the past few days, the 5-person exploration team returned to the townspeople's houses to rest that night. However, the search range was limited to no more than 10 kilometers near the town. If they camped outside, the search range would be extended the next day. Expand a lot. No way. The boy couldn't accept it and felt like crying. Jia Yan is flying in the sky. Those people just now must be humans. I didn't expect there to be humans in the jungle. Are they tourists? It doesn't look like that. What are tourists doing in the forest? There are many tourists on the border, but they are all in well-known tourist spots. The possibility of tourists appearing in such little-known towns and forests is very small. Jia Yan did not expect that this would be a scientific investigation team attracted by the legends of giant creature sightings that were constantly spreading around the town. It's just that he met a few humans. The most indispensable thing in this world is humans. Naturally, Jia Yan won't think about it carefully. The current flying speed is at least 50 kilometers per hour, he checked his speed and felt very satisfied. Although there is still a big gap compared with those birds that fly extremely fast, it is not too big compared with some small birds. Moreover, when Jia Yan explodes with all his strength, his speed can be improved. The wings on his body seem to have changed in appearance after mutation, making them more suitable for long-distance flights and instant bursts of speed. And those slender legs were like crab legs, wrapped in a hard shell and no longer soft. Jia Yan feels that his current appearance still looks like Anopheles sinensis, but if you look closely, it is definitely very different from Anopheles sinensis. Not to mention his body shape, even in terms of strength, he is definitely stronger than ordinary ones. Anopheles sinensis looks several times stronger. In other words, even if there really is an Anopheles sinensis mosquito with the same size as himself in the world, then he will definitely be several levels weaker than Jia Yan. The feeling of power is too strong. Then, let me study it and see if I can develop any attack methods now. Jia Yan finally began to fall. After flying for about 10 minutes, he found that he had flown at least 5 kilometers, and his speed was really very fast. He landed on the branch of a small tree as thick as a coin. When the heavy body landed on the tree branch, it crushed the tree branch completely. Jia Yan found that his current weight has had a certain impact on him. Actions that were easy to perform in the past seem to be a little more difficult now. For example, a tiny mosquito can use the tension of the water to step on the water. But if he steps on the water now, he will definitely be drowned in minutes. The rhythm of death. Of course, Jia Yan is not that stupid. He would be a fool to tread water with such a body type. Of course, the advantages far outweigh the disadvantages. For example, lifespan. Now I can't even guess how long I can live. It might be a few years. But with such a large body, there is no attack and defense means, and it is easily threatened by predators, so I have to think about what other attack and defense means I can discover. Jia Yan began to observe himself. He discovered that his mutation seemed to be a foreshadowing for the first time. He would first enlarge his body and then build some foundations. And this second mutation, part of the foundation laid by the first mutation, was revealed. Just like the defense of an exoskeleton. When he mutated for the first time, although his exoskeleton also changed, it only became darker than before the mutation, and the increase in hardness and strength was only a small amount. But after this mutation, he discovered that the foundation laid by the first mutation was working. The exoskeleton follows the shape of the exoskeleton that mutated and turned black last time, and the exoskeleton is enlarged and the thickness of the shell is thickened, finally forming the current thick exoskeleton defense. With this stronger exoskeleton, his protection is even stronger. At the same time, you can also consider the issue of offense. I'll try the hardness of the forefoot first. Jia Yan raised his front feet. After scratching it, clear marks will appear on the bark. Jia Yan saw that the upper part of his front foot was sharp and covered with scales and a hard exoskeleton. Assassinate enemies with your feet? After Jia Yan thought for a while, he shook his head again. Not to mention that his front feet are not that sharp, and there are many fine villi on the front of the feet. These villi are necessary structures to stand firm on smooth terrain. If they are used to attack, these structures are easily damaged. As for the mouth parts, although the mouthpiece has evolved to be stronger, it may not be as good as an ordinary steel needle. But these mouth parts are important feeding organs, and Jia Yan did not dare to take risks with them. Besides, does attacking with mouthparts pierce the enemy's body like a dart? This is definitely a funny method. Unless the enemy is controlled by you, you can only penetrate the enemy's body with your mouthparts. Hey! Isn't this just a means of attack? First, use the 6 slender legs to hug the enemy tightly, and then pierce the enemy's important organs with the mouthparts, such as the head. Jia Yan's eyes lit up. This method seems to have some feeling. Jia Yan's body is about 7 centimeters in length from head to tail, but each of its 6 long legs is slender than its body. When fully extended, it would cover an area of about 20 centimeters. With such a huge coverage, as long as his 6 long legs have enough power, he can hug the enemy tightly, and then, his sharp mouth needle will spit out from the mouth needle. Stab into the enemy's head. Make a mess of its brains. This close-range attack is really good. Jia Yan almost jumped up. Didn't he think of an attack method? Although, this kind of attack still has many disadvantages and is also full of dangers. For example, if you attack at close range, will the enemy bite your neck off first, or use long-distance attacks to control you first? But after all, I thought of a way to attack mosquitoes that have no frontal attack power. This close-range attack method is really good. Moreover, my mouthparts are so long, and the needle inside is even more slender. Even if I spit it out and violently attack an enemy 1 or 2 centimeters away, it is still possible to hit it. Of course, this becomes the plan I thought of before. Simply using mouthparts can easily cause damage to important organs. Then besides this, are there any other ways to attack? Jia Yan is thinking. He lowered his head and suddenly saw the breathing apparatus on his tail. This tail organ has undergone mutation. At this time, the pincer-like organ at the tail that only male mosquitoes have, which was originally used to hold the reproductive organs, is now hard and sharp. Needle. Jia Yan was shocked. After the mutation, the tail organ became as sharp as the tail stinger of a bee. Although it is not as pointed and long as the tail needle of bees and other animals, it is still about 1 centimeter long. Since Jia Yan did not expect that his tail would actually look like this, he had no idea that if he added the centimeter of tail to his body, he would be 8 centimeters long. The function of the tail organ is for mating, but this function is basically useless to Jia Yan. The current change in the tail organ seems to be due to the automatic and strongest protection of important organs during the mutation process. And this protection forms a slender and sharp tail needle. This is great. If it's sharp enough, the cliff can be a weapon for attack. Jia Yan controlled his abdomen to move. He felt that his abdominal strength was enough. As long as the tail needle mutated from the tail organ was strong enough, he could pierce the tail needle into the enemy's body with a push of his abdomen. But the abdomen of mosquitoes doesn't seem to be as flexible as bees. If you want to sting people flexibly, you need to exercise. Research on mosquito attack and defense continues. No one knows whether this research will give birth to a powerful mosquito capable of close combat. At least in Jia Yan's view, there is great hope. To be continued. Sorry, I'm half an hour late for the parade update. Ahem, I still have the audacity to ask everyone to collect it. Thanks to Buried for the generous 1,888 reward. I would also like to thank the book friends. Oh my god, I have no name for a long time. Book friend 150829065207842, Depressed Fool, Fat Man's Big World, Menying Luoluo and Z27818708775. Thank you, Reborn as an Interstellar Giant Mosquito author, Bulletin U. Chapter 50. All talk and no practice. All research must be demonstrated in actual combat to be effective. Jia Yan was among the trees and suddenly spread his wings and flew up. On that small tree, he thought of several offensive and defensive moves. In fact, these moves are easy to think of if you grasp some key points. First of all, he has to use his slender and extremely hard 6 legs flexibly. In this natural world, no animal has such exaggerated lengths as insects. One of Jia Yan's legs is about 0.5 times longer than his body, which is about 10 centimeters. With 6 legs spread out, it is no exaggeration to say that the coverage is 20 centimeters. And among the animals similar in size to him now, which one has such a terrifying spread of legs and feet? So these 6 long legs are the key points of defense and offense. Of course, it would be difficult for Changzu to make any achievements in attack, so on the offensive end, Jia Yan can only think of 2. The first is the mouth parts. His mouth parts are long and slender, and the needle inside is extremely sharp. Moreover, it can also be shot from the upper and lower jaws at the front of the mouthparts and penetrate into the enemy's body. Of course, there is a danger here, that is, the hardness of the needle is not necessarily absolute. If you accidentally pierce the enemy's bone, his needle may not be intact. As for the upper and lower jaws inside the mouthparts, although they have been greatly strengthened at this time, even if the upper and lower jaws have been mutated, they are still relatively small, and it is difficult to be of much help when fighting the enemy head-on. The mouth needle is an attack point, so the next step is a certain organ that was developed after the second mutation. That is the tail organ located in the abdomen. Originally, the tail organ of mosquitoes was only used for mating. However, Male mosquitoes have a hard object like pliers wrapped around the tail organ, which is completely clamped when not in use. But now, this organ has been greatly strengthened after mutation. Perhaps it is the biological nature of reproduction, so the enhancement here is actually the largest in the whole body. The pliers mutated into strong and sharp needles. Extremely hard. Anyway, Jia Yan felt that he might not be able to use this part in the future. It just mutated into a needle shape, so he could use it like a bee to sting the target. But this is a reproductive organ. I wonder if I will feel anything when I insert it into the target. Is it sour? Or is it spicy? Ahem, I've thought too much. I've thought too much. After Jia Yan flew up, he looked around with his compound eyes. He found that his compound eyes had also greatly improved. In the past, he could not see clearly things that were dozens of meters away, but now he could still see some rough shadows of things that were about 100 or 200 meters away. No matter how far away it is, it's the light and shadow effect again, but it's still much better than before. Just choose it. Jia Yan found his first prey. On the green grass, a large green grasshopper is crawling on the grass blades, chewing the fresh grass leaves happily. This grasshopper has a body length of 3 centimeters, which is not considered small, but compared to the current Jia Yan, it is just a tiny bit. Moreover, the grasshopper does not have much attack power, so it is not bad as the first training target. Jia Yan flew over. When the grasshopper sensed that something was approaching, he was already alert. Its body is slightly crawling, and if something unexpected happens, it can easily explode with power and fly directly into the sky. But he didn't expect that the approaching creature would have such slender legs. When Jia Yan was about 10 centimeters closer to the grasshopper, a pair of front legs stretched out violently. The grasshopper was startled, and his crawling body was about to jump up. But it was impossible for it to judge that the creature close to it actually had legs that were even longer than its body. The moment it took off, its long legs had already been stretched out. From a long distance, pressed directly on the body of this grasshopper. Snap! The grasshopper bounced, but the huge force of its long feet suppressed it back to the grass blades. At the same time, the other 2 long legs of the creature also stretched forward to help the front 2 long legs and clamp the grasshopper firmly. The grasshopper struggled desperately in horror, and the leaves under its feet were grabbed by his powerful thighs and swung around. But the grasshopper's body has been suppressed by this creature, and it is flying in the sky. No matter how hard it struggles, it has no effect. Very good, Jia Yan looked at the grasshopper being suppressed by his 4 long legs, feeling furious in his heart. Prick. He exerted force on his abdomen and stabbed the grasshopper hard with the tail needle on his tail. Crack. The sharp tail needle pierced the grasshopper's body, and a strange scream of pain came from the grasshopper's mouth. Of course, this might just be Jia Yan's illusion. At the same time, Jia Yan also felt a strange feeling coming from his tail, which almost made him let go of the grasshopper's body. Sure enough, there will be a certain feeling when inserting this kind of tail with a reproductive organ into the target's body. As for the question of whether it is sour or spicy, I won't say it. We just drop mosquitoes to show that we are a little shy. Ahem. The sharp tail needle pierced the grasshopper's body. The grasshopper's hard exoskeleton did not provide much protection. Under the powerful thrust, the tail needle pierced the entire abdomen. Very nice. Jia Yan's heart brightened, and his 4 long legs released their grip on the grasshopper. But at this time, the grasshopper was already on the verge of death. He fell to the grass without any strength, and his legs and feet kept swinging and twitching there. Jia Yan continued to fly. Mosquitoes are not carnivores. Although he also wants to change his diet, he doesn't dare to try eating grasshopper meat yet. At least the mutated body gave him the impression that he still had no interest in eating meat. As for whether he would change to eating meat if he continued to grow in the future, It was hard to say. He is purely training his fighting ability. After being captured by predators for a long time, he wants to have the ability to protect himself. A defenseless grasshopper is not enough. Jia Yan flapped his wings in the air, looking a little unscrupulous. I see. Just when Jia Yan was looking for the next training partner with a high enough level, an irritating cry suddenly came from his auditory organs. This cry is endless, ringing in this mountain forest every day. Got it? Jia Yan's heart moved. The cicada's shell is very hard. Let me try. If I can kill even the cicada, then my current fighting power will be very terrifying. Jia Yan followed the sound, flapped his wings and flew away. Not far away, on the trunk of a tree more than 10 meters high, a black creature with a thick back shell lay there making noise. This is a creature that is familiar to humans, cicada, also known as cicada. Its length is not much different from the previous grasshopper, a little over 3 centimeters, but its weight and shell thickness are not on the same level. The cicada's shell is extremely hard, and their vocal organ is located at the base of the abdomen. It can expand and contract up to 10,000 times per second to emit a high-pitched chirping sound. Their strong protection is also the reason why they are more arrogant than grasshoppers. Jia Yan flew over quietly. This cicada was also very vigilant. When it sensed that Jia Yan's monster was approaching, it suddenly took off. Jia Yan was not upset, because the cicada was just a symbolic escape. After flying up, it immediately landed on another tree about 10 meters away. It seemed that he was not too worried about this monster. This is obviously a mistake in judgment. Jia Yan flew over again, this time his movements were very careful. Getting closer. The distance between the two is 50 centimeters. The wings behind Jia Yan's back vibrated violently. The speed soars to the limit. It's like a predator swooping down when hunting for prey. The speed is appalling. Click. In an instant, Jia Yan grabbed all 6 long legs on Jiji's torso. Huh? The grip is really strong. Jia Yan immediately discovered that the resistance coming from the 6 long legs was extremely powerful. The power of the cicada is indeed not comparable to that of the grasshopper before. Come down, Jia Yan's 6 long legs decisively used their greatest strength. Without any resistance, Zizi was suddenly caught between the 6 long legs by Jia Yan's long legs with the inertia of diving. The next moment, Jia Yan controlled all the legs, and while keeping flying, he used 6 legs to wrap around Jiji from all directions. So strong. The strength of the cicada's constant use of its feet to break free made Jia Yan's entanglement very difficult. Fortunately, his 6 legs were long enough and his strength absolutely suppressed the cicada, so he was not allowed to break free. Cicada changed its strategy and started flapping its 2 pairs of membrane wings crazily. You must know that the membrane wings of cicadas are very huge. Not only do they cover an extremely large area, but their power is also relatively terrifying. Not good, Jia Yan felt a little struggling. It wasn't that he couldn't hold the prey tightly with his feet, but that his balance in flying was destroyed by the cicadas that flapped their wings, and the 2 creatures fell downwards in an instant. Die to me. Jia Yan gave up trying to control the opponent with his feet, put his mouthpart on Zizi's brain, and then the mouth needle shot out. He was certain that his needle had mutated into an extremely powerful weapon, but he was not sure whether it could penetrate the hard shell of the cicada and penetrate directly into the opponent's head. Now slip away. A crisp sound sounded in Jia Yan's hearing organ. Zizi's body flapping its wings stopped struggling almost instantly, and then its whole body began to twitch involuntarily. Jia Yan knew that he had succeeded. His needle was indeed able to pierce the thick shell of the cicada's head, directly into the head, and mess up the brain organs. The cicada twitched and slowly lost its movement. Very good. Both attack methods are as good as what I imagined beforehand. Jia Yan put aside Jiji, who was wrapped in long legs and had lost his vital signs. This may seem innocent, but isn't it normal for natural creatures to be hunted? Just survival of the fittest. Jia Yan, who has even killed humans, will not care about the life of the cicada. Don't blame him for being too cold-blooded. After becoming an extremely weak mosquito, if he still has the kind-hearted mentality of protecting small animals like humans, Jia Yan, I don't know how many times I have died. He is just in a great mood right now. I finally have real offensive and defensive means. Haha. To be continued. There are still 3,000 plus chapters. Please support me with your collection. This is an important matter related to whether this book is a eunuch or not. Please support Bullet in You. Thank you. Thanks to the book Friends Helpless Dreamer, I laughed and cried and forgot, oh my god, and Uncle Born in the 80s for their rewards. Thanks.